long ago, before any tribes came to be, long before any trees had grown tall, there was an empty land. Gupta fashioned 2 women from the empty space of this land. And Gupta, the god of the sun and above all things that grow from it, was happy to see them dwell in this land, for Gupta was a lonely god. The god above all had only to share its time with the other gods that grew from its eternal fires, the same fires that came from Gupta's breath. The children watched in wonder as the shaman blew green flames from the palm of his hand. Those wildly moving flames formed the image of 2 women above the children's heads. Gupta enjoyed their company, but the other gods were not so kind. Being lower gods, they grew bitter and angry, for they had no flame of their own, no power to devise life. So, Gupta gave them power over this flourishing realm. It hoped that such purpose might quench the insatiable thirst of the gods. Panchi was made the god of stars and sky, Gulda, god of vegetation and empathy, Hutar, god of water, the planets and moons, Mestar, god of freedom and love, and Usapa, god of the fight and death. Still, none of them were worthy of the fire of life. The 2 women, Kupa and Frinar, found their home in the trees that Gulda brought from the earth. They drank from the pools of water Hutar placed at their feet. They marveled at Panchi's brilliant stars in the sky. They shared their freedom and expressed their love as Mestar had intended. And they fought against the elements of the land to avoid the inevitable end, blessed by Usapa. All were happy. The shaman raised his hands above his head and created the image of a large, loving god, looming over the floating women. Gupta wished for its lowliest creatures, men, to prove themselves worthy of such awe. Man has no status as gods, but they live amongst the tallest trees and brightest stars. They live beside the cleanest water that shines with beauty under Gupta's sun. They bear witness to Gupta's benevolent power. Gupta wished for them to reveal themselves worthy, to prove themselves by uniting with one another and placing their faith in Gupta. Micah had heard those stories so many times before, but the tale unfolding in the glowing smoke of the night fire always captivated him. Every young eye watched in wonder as the shaman continued. However, the 2 women, first of their kind, Kupa and Frinar, had no knowledge of the breath of fire that created them. They knew only of the world around them, and they lived in its beauty peacefully. Gupta so enjoyed its creation that it planted the gift of its fiery breath into the land. Yet Kupa and Frinar were unsure of the strange new flames. Thus, Gupta came to the 2 women on a starry night. It told them of the gods, the creation, and itself. It advised them of their place in the world. It demanded that if they should continue to live peacefully in PRASADA, they would need to find strength in faith. And if ever they should desire to grow in numbers and grow the land, they would need to nourish their fiery gift. Every night, when the night fire grows, they would need to protect it. They would need to tend to it with worship and song. As long as they always protected the green flame, man would flourish. Gupta would grant them more creatures, just like themselves, and those creatures would reproduce into many. And so, our ancient ancestors, Kupa and Frinar, heeded the call. They would stay amongst the timber and protect their precious gift. Mostefis spun his hands around the night fire, causing it to twirl and spill into the air, breaking off into many smaller depictions of men. He then pushed the little men away from one another. But as the people grew in numbers, they scattered across the land and across the seas, and the further they traveled, the less they cared for the flame they had left behind. Long after Kupa and Frenar, the eternal flame was left for only a few who remained behind. For this reason, Gupta became upset with man. It ended the expansion of PRASADA and let the people who fell from its grace become lost and forgetful. The further away they traveled, the more they fell victim to their own mortal desires. Small, crying faces emerged from the green flames as the shaman continued. Thus, left to their own devices, man began to struggle. They grew full of fear, hate, and greed. They fought and quarreled with one another. The other gods wished to end the experience of man, but they looked to Gupta for instruction. Yet Gupta was pleased by the few that remained in the timberwood, the tribe that cared for the flame that brought Gupta such joy. And so, Gupta showed mercy on all of PRASADA. It commanded that all the gods continue to provide for the people, as long as a few protected the gift, even if it be but one being alone. As long as one of them should care for the flame that grows in the night, so too shall the gods care for the people and help man grow in beauty and love, grow in harmony with PRASADA.